This is Art and Such, and this is part 1 of my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Gru from Despicable Me. I will be making a couple changes in this video. I'm going to make the nose one piece shorter, and I'll be trying to add some bulk to the front of the chest. We're going to make that a little thicker. We're going to do the scarf when we're finished everything, and the eyebrows will come in when we're finished all the body. So for this project, you'll need gray bands, 2 black bands for the eyebrows, skin tone bands for the face, nose, and hands, white bands or a lighter gray for your scarf. You're going to need a hook, and I would recommend having a holding hook on hand, although you can always place things at the bottom of the loom where there's room. You'll need a C-clip, and I'm going to recommend beads, which is what I'm using. I have small round beads. You can use pony beads, you can try seed beads, they might be a little too small, but play around with it. Elastics are probably going to be too large for this project. I think we're ready to begin. We have our loom in the offset position, so middle row above the others, and we're going to start by getting some of the pieces that we'll be adding later. So we need 2 arms and 2 legs, and I have one of each prepared, so I'll go through it with you how to make one of each, and then you can make the second one. For our arms, we're going to take a skin tone band, wrap it 3 times onto the hook, and put this onto 4 doubled over gray bands. So take a gray, turn it over onto itself, pull your skin tone bands right on top. We do this 3 more times. So gray, twist onto itself, and bring our other gray over. You will be needing a lot of gray for this project, unless you've chosen black or a different color. But whichever color you are using, make sure you have a lot on hand. I almost ran out on this last one, so want to be prepared here. And now we're going to do 4 pairs of double gray. So take 2 grays, and we're going to bring this on top. You can see mine isn't sliding properly, which means one of these pieces still needs to come over. You can tell you've got the right one when everything moves easily back and forth on your hook. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So really easy. A skin tone brought onto 4 doubled over bands, and then onto 4 sets of 2 bands. And these are all gray except for the skin tone at the front. So you can pause and make another one of those, and I'll show you how to make the leg. For the leg, we want a really tight little booty. So we're starting with a single, wrapping it 3 or 4 times onto our hook, so it's nice and tight. And this is going to come onto 2 doubled over singles. So twist a gray band onto itself and bring that foot part, well, it's really our toe, bring that all over so it slides easily. Or place it on your loom, on your hook. We're going to do this one more time. This is for the foot. And then we're going to 2 single bands, which I like to do for joints. It gives a little flexibility so we have room to bend this a little bit once we're done. And from here we have 4 doubled over bands, all gray still. Twist it onto itself and bring that foot on top. If you want to have a second joint for the knee, you can do that. You'll want to do that about halfway through. Here's 2. Sorry, that was supposed to be a doubled over. I get myself confused sometimes. Let's try this again. Okay, we wanted 4 doubled over bands. So this is 2. Third one, double onto itself. And a 4th one. and then we're going to switch to 2 bands again. So 2 grays, and we're going to do this 3 times. Pull it onto one set of 2 grays, double grays, a second set, and a third set. So 3 sets of 2 gray bands each, and then we're going to pull this onto 3 gray bands. I'll get you to make the other leg by yourself, and I'll just quickly review what we had here. Was a single wrapped onto the hook. You pull this onto 2 doubled over singles. That goes onto 2 single gray bands, onto 4 doubled over singles, onto 3 sets of double bands, and then onto 1 set of 3 bands at the top. Okay? Once you have all of that, you can put it on a holding hook, put it to the side. We're going to make our main body extension. This makes me a little bit nervous because this is a big change from my first try. But this should work, and you'll see it in the thumbnail. We are going to start with, I believe it's 6 sets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of single gray bands. You only need 1 on each, connecting each peg. So 6 singles coming down, and we're going to do the same on the other side. Your middle row will start 1 lower, so from the second peg at the top, you'll count down 6 bands this way down the center, and we meet them up from the sides. So bring a band in from your 7th peg on the side to your 8th peg on the center, and the same from the other direction. We're going to cap it 2 times, so twist it twice, and we're going to do some holding bands, which are single bands that will stretch across in the triangle formation, and this is for each set except for your very top set here. So we do this 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 5 times, 6 times. There we go. We'll just do it this many. Okay, and we can loop these up. So come under that center cap. I'm going to grab my other hook, actually, it's a little bit slimmer. Okay, get under that cap. We're going to bring the bands up the center. Right to the top band there. You know, I'm not feeling too happy with this. I think we're going to add 1 more band right at the top, and it might be a little bit bulky, but this should be okay. So we are going to add 1 more cap right at the top, 1 more band, sorry, and then we can secure these 3 together as well. Like so. And we'll continue up the center. We'll go right to the top of our loom. Come back under that first cap and grab your band, which is coming to the far side here. Loop up the side. And we'll come back, get that bottom one, bring it to the left, my left in this case, and loop up the other side. This is going to be for the stomach, for the very center of the body, and it should make him a little thicker and rounder. I'm just going to move something off my hook here, which we'll get to in just a minute. We will have 1 more extension to do after this, but at this point you want to put this probably on a separate hook. Put your hook through the top, the top, the top, across all 3, and we're going to pull this off, put it to the side. We're going to kind of try and keep this piece at the bottom in order. Our next thing to do is the side extension. I have one made again, and I'll get you to make 2 altogether. We're using double bands, 2 bands, coming down 5 times on the side of the loom. And we're going to take double bands and come down diagonally to the center peg below. We won't do this on the very first peg that we use, but we will have this for the rest. This is similar to the dress extensions, the idea of which I've used from Tutorials by A. And this is what we've got. And we're gonna loom up, just coming under that first column, the first side column, and bring all of these forward. I'm actually gonna use the same one that I have this extension on. The reason that I asked you to put your main body extension on the side is because it's going to be the last thing that we put on before we loop up. Alright, once you have looped all of this up, you can remove these side pieces. We're going to put the hook through those top bands and take all of this off of the hook. We're going to have a lot of loops here on the side, which is good. We want those there. Okay, put this to the side. And I will see you back for part 2, where we will get our body all. Hi there, this is Art and Such with part 2 of my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Gru from Despicable Me. In part 1 we got our arms and our legs ready, as well as all of our extensions. Now we're going to start on the body layout. So we have 2 skin tone bands coming down from our top peg on the center to our top peg on the side, and 2 sets of double skin tone bands from our first peg to our second on the side, and then another 2 from the second to the third. We have 2 skin tone bands coming from our third peg on the side to our fourth peg on the center. And we repeat everything. We're going to mirror it on the other side. So 2 bands down from our top center peg to our top side peg, with 2 skin tone sets coming down. And those will meet in the middle from our third peg on the side to our fourth peg in the center. In the middle, you'll fill that in with 3 sets of double skin tone bands. So 2 bands per each of these. We aren't going to have a neck, but we will go straight to our shoulders, which is, these are all gray bands here, and these are all sets of 2. We go down once, down diagonally from our fourth center peg to our fourth side peg. And either side will have 5 sets of 2 gray bands coming down. The center has 6 sets. Again, these are all with 2 bands each. And we are going to connect them with the legs. I've already done this. You're just going to take half of the loops that are on your hook and put them onto your side bottom one, which is the 5th peg from the bottom of your loom if you're counting up. And the other half of your loops on the other side will go to the center bottom one, which is your 4th peg from the bottom counting up. And you do the same thing on the other side. For the eyes, I'm not going to show you this time. This is my second take of this video, my 3rd take. But you can thread your beads on with dental floss or a wire from a twist tie. If you're using pony beads, you might be able to fit them right onto your hook and thread them on. And if you're using bands, you're just going to wrap them onto your hook and pull them over a single skin tone band. So this is 2 eyes on a skin tone. You're separating it and pulling one of those bands over your second center peg. We're going to start on the nose now. And that will need, you can make it longer if you like. For the one that I'm going to make, we're going to take a single, wrap it really tight, give it 4 or 5 wraps onto the hook. And this goes on to 2 doubled over singles. Bring that band over and onto itself, pull all of the bands off of your hook and on top, and we need to make sure we get them all so that it slides nice and well. And onto a second doubled over single. Twist it around back onto itself and pull this through. We'll pull this onto a single skin tone band, bring this all over. Oops. Sometimes it's nice working with the doubled over bands because they kind of hold the shape better if something does slip. This is what we have. We're pulling this from also on our second pegs. Put this up for you right away. But we will pull this down now under the third peg. So it stretches from second peg to second peg, but it's stretched under the third peg on the center. Okay, sorry about that. We can add our side extensions and then we'll put on our arms. We don't want our arms to sink right to the back. For our extensions, what we're going to do, these are the side ones. They had the big loops pointing out. You want to keep those all on one side if you can. You're going to take the bands off of your hook and put them on the fourth peg from the top of your loom where your shoulder starts. And we'll be putting our hook into the hoops and stretching them across like so. So it's going to come to the peg underneath and meet up on the center peg. We're going to do this all the way down to the bottom. This is going to add a little thickness and roundness to the side. So each set of loops will come to the peg below and stretch to the center peg in between. You should have enough pegs. If something's not quite right, just do the best you can here. I'm just trying to get this last one. And you want 2 bands over each of these. Okay, so we have something like that. You're going to get your other side extension and we'll put this on the opposite side. We are going to have a lot of overlap and a lot of bands, but this is for the sake of the bulk and thickness that we have in our beloved groove. Same thing, our loops here are going to come to each set of bands underneath. I did want to mention this extension format. I think I did mention in the first video. Well, I can reiterate. This is from Tutorials by A. This is her design as I understand it, and it's been very helpful to me, so thank you Tutorials by A. We are ready to put on our arms. I know the order seems a little bit funny, but this is to try and keep things from staying too far to the back or too high up. We're going to put our arm on the shoulder peg and find your other arm, put it on the other shoulder peg. I've got them so many holding hooks here, it's getting a little messy, but we're almost done with our extensions and side pieces. And this last one is a little bit tricky because now we need to loop up the center before we put this on. I'm thinking we should actually have this one piece on top, the bands coming from the center. So what I'm gonna do, I don't normally like to do this, but we're gonna take those side leg bands off just for the moment. We're gonna put them on to the pegs below just to get them out of the way. And I want this straight one right on top. So I'll pull that to the side and I can replace my leg bands, my leg pieces. I think this will make it easier once we're looping in a little bit cleaner. And we're going to put that straight one on top. And now we want to put a cap band at this bottom here. Take a gray and we're going to wrap it 2 or 3 times. I'll just do 2 for now, should do it. Get under there, and we're only going to loop up the center bands, and we're going to loop those right to almost to where the neck is. Maybe we will go right to the neck. Hang on. Okay, start looping them up, push back your cap bands, and we're just going to move these all the way up here. Yes, it is going to be a little messy at the neck when we're done, but this is, I think, the best way to do this. So loop your middle all the way up, And now we can put in our extension. This is where it gets really messy, but still manageable. There are 3 loops right at the bottom. And that was our original cap band. We're going to put that onto our bottommost peg. And we're going to be stretching. We have 3 sets here. So 2 loops, 2 loops, and 2 loops. We have to stretch these all the way up. And our first 2 loops will go on the shoulder side. Our second will go onto the middle, right before the neck here. And the last 2 on the other side. It's going to be very stretchy. And you'll want to push your armbands down a little bit too if you can. This is something, oh dear, I'm going to have to look it up and make a note. I want to say this was luminosity maybe. This was from the Simpsons pattern that I was looking at before, so I do want to give credit to the proper person. I will look it up and get that in my notes for you for the video. Okay, this is all stretched out. Now we have to grab 1 band or 2 bands from each set and pull them over all of these loops coming down, all these pegs coming down. Sorry, I know this is a little bit tedious and tricky. Keep pushing your bands down and we can do this. Try and get 2 onto each, but 1 should do the trick. And onto that bottom one. We don't want this to be too loose for us either. We're going to do the same on the other side. Don't worry about the middle because we've already looped that up. This is actually going to sit on top of it, which is kind of cool. So we only have 2 rows really to loop once we get through this part. Keep pushing things down as you go. And there's our body. We have our arms, we have our legs, we have our face. I'll get you to just check that everything looks right and is in order. And I think we're gonna call this a video. I will see you back for part 3. Hi there, this is Art and Such, and we're back for part 3 of my rainbow loom tutorial for Gru from Despicable Me. In part 2 we got everything ready on the loom. And now I'm really nervous because this is where it gets kind of tricky. We are going to go under the bottom cap band where we have all those extensions, and we're going to pull first top set of bands to the closer side here, the side that it came from. Maybe you went in a different order. Alright, we are going to come up the side and then we'll go back for the other side. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. We are going to turn this to the side and we're only going to reach down for the very bottommost gray band. These are really thick here, so watch out. We're going to come all the way up, grabbing 2 bands from each of these sets here. So push your hook back, get only the bottom 2, lift it up, and right to the bottom. And from under the arms we have those last 2 shoulder pieces. Make sure that's secure, and then we can come back and do the other side. So we're starting at the center again. We're getting under those cap bands and taking the bottom 2 back to the side that it came from. And we're reaching under and getting the bottom 2 all the way up. I'm gonna have to turn this sideways a little bit as we go, sorry. Just make sure you push everything else back, because if this comes up on top of the wrong cap, it's going to be messy. We're going to have some loose bands that you'll have to weave back in if everything holds together well enough for that. Make sure you get all of those. You want 2 bands from each set, so if you only grab one, as I just did, go back and get the other. You can use your hand to pull it out to the side. Stretch it to where you can see it. Coming down for those last two. I've got one here. Have to come back in again. Giving it a little tug to stretch it out so I can see it. There we go. And this is where it gets ugly, and then it should be smooth sailing from here. You need to reach under, push back all of your gray bands, and get your top two skin tone bands. And these should be coming to the far side. And get under all your gray bands again, and pull your next two skin tone bands to the other side. It's a little bit tight, so be very careful. We have two more bands, and these are coming up. We'll give the nose a little lift so that it pops out when we're ready for it. And we're going to continue looping up the front of the face. Push back your nose, pull up the next two skin tone bands. I'm actually going to finish off the center last, although it doesn't matter so much, but it's my preference right now. We're going to come up the sides, push back your cap band where the eyes are, and we're just looping everything straight up back to where it came from. And remember to stay behind all of your caps, stay under your caps. Just want to pull that nose higher out again. There we go. It's kind of cute. And our last one, that last centerpiece with the skin tone band, we can secure this all by putting our hook through all of the bands on the top peg. And we'll have the open part of the hook faced away. Grab a skin tone band. You can use two if you want it to be a little extra secure. Pull it through, put it on, over, and you'll want to loosen some of the tension off of some of your pegs with your hook. When you're ready, you can remove this all from the loom. I think we'll do the arm first here. Oh, okay. So this did add a little bit of plumpness, not a lot, but that's a little bit better anyway. We are going to poke our eyes through a little bit more, and we're going to tuck our securing band into the back, and you can use this, put a C-clip on to hold it there. I'm just pulling it down a little so it's out of the way. Tuck it under some other bands. Oops. And these things can be really slippery sometimes. I'm gonna take a Sharpie or any permanent marker, and we'll add some dots to the eyes so we can see them a little bit better before we start onto the eyebrows. Trying to do this so that it doesn't get on my bands too much. You can do big circles, little circles, long circles. If you don't have a Sharpie, these can be got at dollar stores. They're pretty accessible, I find. If you do have any other loose bands, you can kind of tuck them in, give your nose a tug. We're going to do our eyebrows. So we're coming into the back, just above the eyes here. And we're putting a black band on, maintaining some tension and pulling this through. Then we'll come back on the other side, put it back on your hook and pull it to the back again. And we can put one of these over the other. And we'll do the same for the other side. So come in around the same spot, try and get a similar height. We'll put another black band through. And then this comes around, other side of the eye, far side of the eye. And we will return that to the back. Oops. Can adjust those a little bit. I'm actually finding my skin tone bands are a little bit stretched out here, so before we proceed I'm just going to give those, I want to give those a little tug. I'm putting them underneath the other skin tone bands. You can grab it from, try and grab it from the back a little so it doesn't show as much, but we're going to tighten that up and weave it down to our C-clip. Be as fast as I can here for you. Whenever you do have loose bands, because they're a little bit stretchy, you can always do this. And once more, what I'm doing is getting my loose band and a tighter band onto the hook and pulling the tighter band over the loose one. Okay, I'll do this 1 or 2 more times just to get this properly locked up with my C-clip. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. Stretch and a tug, shape it the way you want it, pull your eyebrows out, and we have everything but our scarf. Before I start on the scarf though, let me mention, if you're not happy with the way the legs look, if you want them to be a little closer together, what you can do is take a gray band and you can fit it either at the bottom by the feet and wrap it around a couple of times, or you can put it up towards where the legs meet here. You can even put a couple, and if you leave it overnight it should become a little bit tighter there and holds the shape a bit better. Alright, so for our scarf, I'm alternating between white and gray bands. I'm starting with a single white wrapped 3 times. I'm pulling that onto 2 grays and then onto 2 whites. You can do this to whatever length you desire. I have on this one side 6 sets of doubles, so we'll start with that. It's 1, 2, 3. I'm just alternating between my gray and my white. 4, 5, 6. I'm using 2 each time. So this is one side. It will pull over the longer side. My longer side, I'm starting out the same. So a single wrapped 2 or 3 times. We're going to pull that onto double grays, onto double whites. You'll straighten this out as you need to, of course. Double grays, and double whites. Just bring all the bands off of your hook and right on top. Double grays, so you have 4 loops coming over each time. Double whites, and when you feel it's long enough to get to the neck, what we can do, you can do this in gray or white or any other color, is switch to a single chain for a short time. So using single whites because we won't be seeing the back. So, and this will also make it stretch a little further. And then we can switch back to our grays. That was a chain of 3 single whites following 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of double bands. So now I'm back to doubles. It's 2 grays, 2 whites. You can play around with this yourself as well and get it to the, again, the length, the thickness, the stiffness that you want to have. Let's see how long this is now. This is with another 4 sets of double bands after that single chain. And what we want to do is have it long enough that this might do. Let's do 2 more. Let's do another set of gray and another set of white. And now we're going to bring our other chain on top so that it's sitting on the scarf. And this will, here we go. This is all going to wrap around and go over, the pieces on your hook are going to go over that first end that you still have coming from the close side. Okay, so here's our long piece, and it fits over itself, and this is our shorter piece which we've snuck onto this end here before attaching it on. So there's our scarf, and there's our grew. And I thank you for watching. We did great.